Hello guys, this is Nila Pandey and welcome back at a new YouTube video. And today we're going to talk about the Monroe Doctrine. We're going to talk about this topic in four different aspects. Why it was introduced, how it's been used in past few centuries, what are its implications on present world order, and what are the future prospects. So, Monroe Doctrine is a US foreign policy doctrine introduced in 1823. Yes, it was introduced over 2 centuries ago. We are living in 2026 and we are still using this doctrine and we are still talking about it. So, going back to the topic, it was introduced by then US President James Monroe. This doctrine, so what does this doctrine says? This doctrine basically says that the North and South American continent comes under the US sphere of influence and it justifies US interventions to balance out the meddling of power in these areas such as Latin America by European powers. So this doctrine clarifies that United States will be neutral in the wars and issues of European powers and European powers won't interfere in the US sphere of influence. So this doctrine has been used a lot of times, but I'm going to talk about one specific time when it was used. This doctrine was used during, everyone remembers it, in 1962 during Cuban Missile Crisis. So when we talk about Cuban Missile Crisis, one of the things which makes me so much uh, intriguing is that we saw that United States made sure that the whole world was on its toe for that period of time. But at the same time, United States places its own nuclear missiles in Turkey, Italy, and on its European NATO bases. So that time we saw that United States made sure that it intervenes and it justifies its intervention in Cuba, which is a different sovereign nation, but which comes under the US sphere of influence, which is basically the North and South America. This doctrine is also now used, I would say passively, in my opinion, on Brazil. When Brazil is cozying up to BRICS, it is meddling with United States economic sphere of influence, which is basically the whole world, but still, United States won't tolerate this. Its intervention in Venezuela will also be justified at the same level. Now, as we saw, we have also discussed in previous video about China's $100 billion investment in US. Now, the interesting thing is that will China try to take back that investment or is it gonna be leave that whole investment? Because US will again use Monroe Doctrine for the same. I would say that I expect some kind of balance between Taiwan, Venezuela, and all these things, maybe Ukraine as well, between all these three polar world orders. Because currently we have a multipolar world order. Maybe India will also get involved. Now, what are the future implications that we can expect? And I would say that you guys also know what I'm talking about. Yes, I'm talking about Greenland. With the current narrative, which was started back in 2017 by President Trump's first term, is that Arctic is very important. The ice sheets are melting. There's not only oil and a lot of natural resources, but there's new Arctic passageways which are opening. Uh, a melting Arctic not only means an express shipping lane between Asia, Japan specifically, and Europe, but rather more expressways, more Arctic passageways, and more sphere of influence, more power in that US sphere of influence. Now, United States won't tolerate Russia opening more number of its old Soviet bases in that same region. The United States now clearly says, the President Trump clearly says that they want Greenland because of US security. Again, we are seeing Monroe Doctrine used to justify United States intervention to counter the non-US powers in its sphere of influence. I would say that we should be positive and we should make sure that we should be keep looking forward because Monroe Doctrine has been used a lot of time, but at different levels. With Brazil, we are not seeing it actively used. It is sometimes used very passively. With Cuban Missile Crisis, it was used very diplomatically. There were standoffs in different regions, but nowadays, United States, the whole world at its thinks its playground, but they will still use Monroe Doctrine very actively when they will see a non-US power interfering in their own sphere of influence. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is Nila Pandey signing off.